Hi, everybody. Welcome back to MyAngle. Today is a very important episode, an episode that I'm very excited to bring to you guys. This is an episode all about awareness and education. Joining me today is Michele NS. Miss Michele works as a sober companion and recovery coach. It is her job to aid those who struggle with alcohol use disorder in succeeding on their journey to lasting sobriety and healing. Michele herself knows what addiction is like. Her own alcohol addiction progressed over the span of 22 years. Michele fought an 11-year battle to reach sobriety and has now been 3.5 years sober. With the rising number of people, especially women, struggling with alcohol addiction, Michele is here to tell her story and offer hope and education. Please welcome Michele. Hi, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much, Joy, for having me.
Yes, I'm really excited for this. So first of all, I want to talk about what you do as a female sober companion and recovery coach.
Okay, so as a sober companion, I can live with people in recovery for a short period of time or a long period of time once they are discharged from treatment. Treatment times vary, sometimes 28-day treatments or 90-day treatments or 6-month treatment centers, depending on the client's needs. And once they're discharged, the client is back at home in their regular environment. And sometimes they find it hard to transition from the safety of the treatment environment to their regular daily routine at home, on their home turf. Upon our first initial meet, I would go to the client's home and usually ask the client if it's okay that we walk through their living environment together to make sure that there aren't any leftover triggers or possible paraphernalia, things that would basically remind them or trigger them to using. So once the client gives approval for us to do an initial walkthrough of the house, we'll search for things like maybe empty alcohol bottles, maybe they have at-home bar and they might not feel comfortable having the alcohol there. So we'll go through their home together and figure out a way to either dispose of those things or maybe remove those things from the home. In this way, there won't be any surprises since the client's just returning home from treatment in a safe environment. We definitely don't want them to come home and stumble upon any leftover or residual things from their previous days of using. So once we go ahead and do a sweep of the client's home, we'll then sit down and maybe discuss some of their goals that they would like to achieve over the next few weeks and basically over the next few days. And if they're not ready to discuss that, I'll basically just be there to help them just establish basic needs. Since they might have been away from home, they may need to restock their refrigerator. And going to the grocery store, that could be a big trigger for some people because nowadays alcohol is sold everywhere. I know in our neighboring states of Virginia, alcohol is sold in the Costco, the Target, and you could just be going to the grocery store for milk, bread, and eggs. And
it's larger than the produce aisle, right?
Yes, I was about to say, while you're shopping for produce, there's, Appletini right there, and you might not be expecting the reaction that may be your automatic reaction or automatic trigger for wanting to actually pick that up. You're not planning to go to the grocery store to shop for alcohol. However, since it's just a surprise and you may not have had a plan or expectation of how you would feel once encountered with that scenario, it could just lead people to just automatically pick it up. And then next thing you know, they're off to a relapse. So as a sober companion, I'll do things with them, such as go to the grocery store. I'll walk through the aisles with them, discuss things like, well, what happens since this is your neighborhood grocery store if, let's say, we run into a friend, and this friend is someone that used to sell you drugs. What happens if we run into this friend on the outside of the grocery store, walking to the grocery store? Let's do some role play. Let's discuss your reaction. Let's discuss your response so that it's not taking you by surprise and you feel pressured in order to do something that you don't want to do. Because sometimes the best offense is a good defense.
Yeah.
Other things that sober companions do, if we go with a client, let's say to a business meeting, a lot of executives may have business luncheons. And they're usually outside of the office at a restaurant. So as a sober companion, I'll discuss with them, okay, when we go to lunch, I can sit at another table and you sit with your colleagues. And what happens when the waiter comes around with the wine list? What happens when when your colleagues are ordering, vodka and Sprite, or, they're ordering gin and tonic, and then the waiter comes around to you, they can feel pressured. What would they say? So I give them ideas, such as, okay, you can order Sprite, you can order a ginger ale, you could just order a tonic with lime. And if any of your colleagues say anything like, oh, you're not drinking today, I give them excuses. You're on medication. I'm taking medication. I can't drink today. You don't have to tell them that you're in recovery. You don't have to, make it uncomfortable for yourself. You could just give them a simple answer. But at least if we role play these things ahead of time, they'll have ideas in their head so that they can be prepared. And they also know that I, as a sober companion, if I'm off in the distance, maybe at another table or in the lobby, watching nearby, I can always pull them aside and say, excuse me, you have an important phone call. Of course, their colleagues won't know that I'm a sober companion. I can be their assistant. I can be their personal trainer, their life coach, so that I do not basically expose their anonymity and expose them to being in recovery.
Yeah, that's amazing, because obviously this journey, it's not something you can do alone. And it's great that you have that empathy because you've gone through it. So I want to, discuss your story. So first of all, can you tell us how you were initially introduced to alcohol and how your addiction began?
Sure. Let's see. I grew up in a two-parent household, a loving two-parent household. My parents aren't alcoholics. They don't even smoke cigarettes.
Wow.
And I didn't start drinking until I was 21. And I like to tell people, the background as far as me growing up in a loving two-parent household. Because I didn't come from the foster care system. I wasn't raised in the projects. I didn't come from a hardened background. And sometimes people visualize people with alcoholism and in active addiction. They came from a household where drugs were rampantly used, and that's not the case. This disease does not discriminate. You can come from a park bench or, jailhouse or Yale, park bench or Park Avenue. It does not discriminate. So anyway, I didn't start drinking until my 21st birthday. I was a good student. I like to follow the rules, and the rules said drinking age was 21.
Yeah, so. It looks like you did it right.
Right. I thought I was doing it right.
Yeah.
And, before I picked up that first drink, I used to have feelings of awkwardness, be in social settings and not quite know how to respond, what to say, the right thing to say, how to act, if people are going to like me, am I doing the right thing? It was a lot of feelings of anxiety, some paranoia, and things of that nature. And once I picked up that first drink, all that went away.
Wow.
I immediately felt relaxed, and my inhibitions were let down, and it was magical. It was magical at first. First, it was magical. Then it was used as medicine. And in the end, it was just madness.
And considering that, your addiction progressed over a span of 22 years, when did it hit you that this was a problem now?
Well, I'd say since I drank for 22 years, about 11 years in, was when I went to my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting at the suggestion of a then boyfriend. And that was the beginning. However, I was in and out of the rooms of AA for 11 years. I knew that there was a problem, and I just didn't know how to stop, and didn't want to stop, really. It was like I knew it was a need, but it wasn't a want. And it took me 11 years to get sober. Wow. Actually, I attempted many times. I attended several inpatient treatment centers and rehabs. And just like some of my clients, I got out of the treatment, 28-day treatment, went back home, and was left to my own devices. I didn't use any of the tools that we discussed in treatment. I didn't seek out sober friends, or I didn't really have a solid foundation. I was just basically released from the safety of the treatment center, and there was really nothing really, or no one bridging the gap from treatment to home life and learning how to live in my home environment sober. One of the things that prevented me, sometimes from really taking that step of just releasing complete control and admitting I was powerless over alcohol, was the idea that, oh my God, I can't drink for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And I think I can't drink for the rest of my life. And, when I finally talked to some people, they said, don't think about it as you can't drink for the rest of your life. Just worry about today. Just worry about not drinking for the next 24 hours. And if that's too much, try worrying about not drinking for the next 60 minutes. And at that point, it seemed more manageable. It seemed more doable. It seemed like a realistic goal. But that basically, the only regret I have about getting sober is that I didn't do it sooner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just one day at a time is what you had to look at, right?
Yes, just one day at a time. And I often tell people that that's really all you have.
Yeah.
And I definitely was a person who was plagued by my past. I always worried about things I did in the past, that it was haunting me.
Yeah.
And, I can't go back and change the past.
Yeah.
So, let's not worry about the past. And, I can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. The only thing I can do is be in the present and manage today.
Yeah.
So, and I still live by that, one day at a time. It helps me to be able to live life on life's terms, and to be able to just stay sober just for today, because that's really all I have. And once I manage today, tomorrow, I'll do it all again and just worry about today.
Yeah. And I also want to know, being that, your sobriety journey took you 11 years, when somebody confronted you or brought it to your attention that you did have a problem, what was your initial reaction? Was it denial, anger? What was your reaction?
Yes, it was all of the above. It was at first it was the problem is not that bad. And as you mentioned earlier, it is a progressive disease.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, yeah, it was fun. It was fun in the beginning. Then it was fun with problems. And during that fun with problems phase was I'm not that bad. I'm not, having any severe consequences. I'm not hurting anybody. It's just me. I'm just here, this is happening to me. I'm not hurting anyone. However, that was the beginning of the progression, because then all those things that I was saying I'm not doing began to happen, began to get arrested, began to have more severe consequences, disorderly conduct, DUIs, DWIs. So I like to tell people that some people may drink at home. They may, we have this thing with the moms and the wine club.
Yeah. And that's the thing, this is the first time in history that women are drinking just as much as men, if not more. Like, it has surged so much since 2002. And that's the crazy thing.
Yes, because our culture and society is glamorizing drinking and consumption of alcohol. And yes, it does start out where it might just be fun, or you're just having one glass of wine to relax. And this doesn't happen to everybody. Everyone doesn't just start out with one glass of wine and end up with a box or a bottle in 2 or 3 months. It's not everyone that this will happen to, but there are certain people that will become alcoholics, and the progression is really kind of cunning and baffling, because I didn't even realize it was progressing. I felt that, I was employed. I never lost a job. I was going to work full time. I was a single mom. I was taking care of business. Well, why can't I relax? Why can't I have a glass of wine? I'm entitled to have some fun too. However, it took a turn when I started using it to self-medicate. And, I've had people say, well, when you saw it take a turn, why didn't you just stop? And, sometimes people don't realize that it's not a choice. Sometimes they think, as addicts have a choice. And that's when it really becomes a problem, when you can't stop on your own. And it's not a choice. I like to tell people sometimes, look, I didn't ask to be an alcoholic. In second grade career day, I did not raise my hand. I was a highly functioning alcoholic in a homeless shelter. Pick me. It didn't go like that. Definitely wasn't a choice. And, those people there are some people, some alcoholics who don't get arrested, who don't have DUIs and drive drunk. They're just at home drinking, maybe in their basement, and they're not having those consequences yet. Yet. I like to say yet. Yet is a big word. You're eligible too. It can happen sometimes. They're like, well, I didn't lose a wife and kids. Well, okay, well, maybe you just don't know. That's the thing. You don't know. That's the scary part. You don't know. And yes, I did have people that, said maybe you have a problem. And once I realized, okay, maybe they might be on to something. Sometimes I'd be out with friends drinking and tell them, I really need to stop. I have a problem. And they would tell me, oh, no, you don't need to stop. You just need to learn how to control it. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. That's the problem. I can't control it. It controls me. I can't. And, I had to explain to them that that's it. Once I pick up that drink, I can't drink safely. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And my question is this, sometimes when we talk about people with this disease, people kind of portray it as something you love, that substance. Did you love the alcohol?
Yeah, I loved the effects.
The effects.
I loved the effects. It it was there to for me to numb my problems, but then it magnified them.
Wow.
I was using them to numb, to black out and drink to forget. And the only problem about it, it only worked temporarily. Once I came to or came out that blackout, the problems were still there. Not
Yeah.
only were the problems still there, I created new problems during the during the blackout.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an effective solution at all. But yes, I did drink for the effects of escaping, escaping my life, escaping those feelings that made me feel uncomfortable, not really sitting with myself and understanding certain feelings that I was having. And that's what it did. In the beginning, it was like a relief. And then all of a sudden, once it progressed, it was like a nightmare.
Wow.
And I was on a roller coaster that I couldn't stop.
And I want to know this, the thing is, what is the root of the problem? Does alcohol abuse cause mental illness, or does mental illness cause alcohol abuse?
Well, I often thought about that myself. I cannot give you a clear answer. All I can tell you, for me, at times when I drank, I would feel like, well, am I drinking because I'm depressed, or am I depressed because I'm drinking?
That's the
And round and round
paradox.
I would go. So
Yeah.
that's how I felt.
Wow. And when we said, did you love the alcohol? You said you love the effects of it. So in order, to get sober, did you have to love something else more than you love the effects of the alcohol?
Well, replacement does help. However, that's not how my sober journey started. As far as replacing the alcohol and loving something else, I do know that I didn't want to lose or damage any more family relationships. Because I created a lot of wreckage in my past and damaged a lot of relationships, and I didn't want that to continue. And I also had love for myself. I did have love for myself. It's just that I needed to love myself more, enough to have that will. Have that will to stop and understand that this is something that is beyond my control. Once I understood that I was completely powerless, it definitely helped me to take that first step. I always considered myself a smart, intelligent person, and could not figure out, how come I can't figure this out? At that point, when I realized that it's okay, maybe it wasn't meant for you to solve the problem. Maybe it's something that's beyond your control, that you can't control, and you just need to stop, and it's something that you have to just remove completely from your life. And I during active alcoholism and active addiction, I felt like I lost the connection with my higher power. I always considered myself a spiritual person, but during that time, it just dwindled. I feel a connection really with my higher power. Although I still prayed, I just prayed that, God, please make this stop. Please make me one day just be able to stop this abuse. And I just didn't know how, or didn't know what exactly to do. And I do tell you that once I got sober, I felt more of a connection, more of a spiritual connection with my higher power, and just have more hope and faith. And I really felt like when I was those 22 years that I was drinking, I felt like I was in hell. I felt like I was living in hell. And I could tell you that recovery did not open the gates of heaven to let me in.
Mm.
Recovery opened the gates of hell to let me out.
Wow. Wow. And I just want to say congratulations to you because you've been sober for, is it 3.5 years?
Yes. Yes.
Congratulations. That is a
Thank
huge
you.
achievement.
Thank you.
And I also want to know this, something you talk about in your educational videos is honesty, dishonesty, and good orderly instruction. Can you talk about, an alcoholic's relationship to those subjects?
Okay, sure. Honesty. Let's see. That's a big one.
Mm.
Honesty is a big one because I lied to myself all the time. It was pretty amazing the lies that I could convince myself that everything was okay. You don't have a
Mm.
problem. Oh, and then there were the lies. I'm just going to go out and have one drink. Right? I'm just
Wow.
going to go out and have one drink, and then I'm going to leave after an hour, and I'm going to show them that I can do it. And that
Mm.
was never the case. One drink turned into two, and two turned into four, and 1 hour turned into 5 hours, and 5 hours turned into dawn. So
Yeah.
I wasn't able to be real honest with myself as far as number one, admitting that I had a problem,
Yeah.
and admitting that not only was I hurting myself, but I was hurting others around me. And number two, be honest with myself that I couldn't do this on my own, that I needed help. And that was very hard to admit that I needed help. I couldn't do
Mm.
this on my own, and really just understand that, yes, people can help you. It's okay to ask for help sometimes, and it's okay to let others help you.
Yeah.
So once I was able to get to that point and be honest with myself, then I was able to start to receive help. And like you said, good orderly direction,
Mm-hmm.
and it does help to have a connection and talk to other alcoholics and addicts, because they actually can relate to me, and I
Yeah.
relate to them. And they understand my struggles and can help me take it one day at a time, and help give me some suggestions,
Yeah.
and basically I could really complicate things. And some of the suggestions that other alcoholics would give me is really simple. One of the biggest suggestions they said at first was, we suggest you don't drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would help. That would that's a big part of it right there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I took that suggestion. I actually did. I took that suggestion, and it's helped to today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Having that self-awareness and ability to really examine yourself, that's important. Since you've observed so many people who struggle with this disease and even your own progression of it in the past, what are some, key factors or commonalities that you've observed that people struggling with addiction have?
Um, let's see. Some of the commonalities would be that they want to stop but can't.
Mm.
Um, some of the higher functioning alcoholics and addicts, like myself, the ones that have jobs and wives and husbands and houses and kids,
Yeah.
sometimes a common theme that I see is, don't I deserve a break too? I deserve to have some
Yeah.
fun too. I'm handling my responsibilities over here, so shouldn't I be allowed to let my hair down over here? Those are some common themes. Um, Another thing that I noticed is sometimes with higher functioning alcoholics, people that are very educated, they seem to have a harder time with the simplest instructions
Mm.
because they feel they can figure this out. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, if you're a surgeon, a dentist, a lawyer, a doctor,
Yeah.
very educated, and I'm sure they find it to be very hard, and to think to themselves, well, I did all this other stuff. I'm accomplished over here. How come I can't figure this thing out? How come I can't drink safely? How come I can't control it? That seems to be a common theme as well. Another common theme that I find is once people actually admit to themselves that they're powerless, there's nothing they can do, they've tried it all kinds of ways. Once they admit that they're powerless and they actually have a chance and give themselves a chance to put that drink or substance down and start their sobriety journey, they don't want to look back. They're happier. I do notice that they're happier, and this is a better way of life. They discover that this is a better way of life, and we can admit that although this is a better way of life, it's still life. Life still happens. It's just that in sobriety and in recovery, we learn to live life on life's terms and handle different events that are thrown our way, different things that happen in life. We learn to handle them a little bit better as opposed to reacting and picking up that drink or drug, thinking that that's a solution to our problems, when really it's not. It's really a symptom of the problem. And in sobriety and recovery, you can start to get to know yourself all over again and basically get to tackle those issues that maybe weren't addressed in childhood, issues that that have been in the back of your head that maybe you've been trying to suppress, that you can actually face those issues sober and learn to work through those issues.
Miss Michele, was your sobriety journey also a self-love journey for you?
Most definitely. Most definitely. I'm a Leo and I love
myself. I love me a Leo.
Yes, I love myself. I just kept thinking, no, if I keep on going this route, it's going to take a toll on my skin, on my teeth. And I can't have that. And
I know that's right.
I was like, I need to look good. If anything, we need to go ahead and stop and shine on and let people know. Let them know that, we look better sober. It's definitely a journey of self-love. I definitely have gotten to love myself more. I definitely feel more comfortable in my own skin. I really do. I've learned that it's okay to be me. It's okay if I'm a little quirky sometimes. It's okay if I'm not like everybody else. I'm not supposed to be like everybody else. I'm rare.
That is the truth.
Yes. So I've definitely enjoyed this journey of self-discovery and learning new things about myself, and just loving the things that were suppressed during those years of addiction.
And I also want to ask you, when, addressing someone who is close to you who struggles with this disease, what worked better for you or even your clients? Tough love from close loved ones or compassion and softness?
Well, I can definitely say I've had both. And this is not a one size fit all disease, so it's not going to be a one size cookie cutter solution. Everyone is different. So at different periods, I felt like, I wanted more compassion. However, I did experience tough love and then felt like, well, if you had my problems, you'd be drinking too. So I really can't say, but I do know that it helps if you're not enabling someone. It's one thing for them to be, shoveling their own hole. It's another thing for you to keep handing them the shovel. So I definitely encourage people, especially loved ones, parents, spouses, to look at your part that you're playing in this, because sometimes we could be enabling alcoholics and addicts, And however, I really can't say, because then there's also that harm reduction piece. You know, there's harm reduction with addicts, whereas you might want them to have a safe place to shoot up with clean needles, especially with things like COVID and other diseases out there.
Yeah.
So it really just depends. I know that it is a family disease. It does affect everyone in the family. And I believe that loved ones, basically, they try everything. I believe I've heard loved ones say that, you know, they've tried tough love, and they've tried compassion, and you know, they've tried the harm reduction as far as just letting the person use in a safe place, and none of it worked.
Yeah.
So none of it's going to work, not unless the addict or the alcoholic has the will of their own to get sober. They have to have that will. I tell my clients, I can give you all the support, all the help, all the love you need. I cannot give you the will to be sober. That has to come from within. It has to come from you. You have to, want it for yourself. You have to have the will. I cannot do it, because if I drag you to a treatment center and you're in the safety of the treatment center, once you get out, you have to have the will and some type of foundation in order to continue a daily life in recovery.
Yeah. So what would be the first steps in taking that, big leap into your sobriety journey for all the people out there?
The first step is admitting that you're powerless over that substance. The first step is admitting that you're powerless, being honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself that this is a problem. This is not serving you well, and that you cannot control it. You are powerless over it, and there's no way that you can continue to drink safely or use. So that's definitely the first step. Once you take care of that first step with yourself and being honest with yourself, I'd say reach out. There's plenty of people and resources out there to help you. There's hotlines. There's 12-step programs. And the doors of 12-step programs are always open. And you can always call a hotline, and then after that, they can connect you to other resources within your community. But there is help.
There is help. That's great. And, I want to talk about, what do you love the most about being a sober companion and a recovery coach?
Okay. Definitely. When I see that sparkle in someone's eyes, it's like they are just reborn. Their eyes start getting clearer. Their skin starts getting clearer. They start smiling more, holding their head up more. And they actually just have a certain light about them, radiating from them, like, I don't have to live like this anymore. It's like they finally realize alcohol and drugs wasn't the solution. There is a better way of life that does not involve alcohol and drugs as a solution to my problems. And it's like a light goes off, and they're just like, okay, I can do this. This is doable. I can do this one day at a time. She's doing it. That's what I'm supposed to be, an example of it being done, to show you that it can be done. And no matter what happens throughout our 24-hour day, as long as we do not pick up, it'll be okay. We get another chance at this thing called life every day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And before we go, I have one more thing that I want you to share to everyone out there, everyone who's struggling with addiction, everyone who doesn't think that they can ever be on the road to sobriety and recovery, or the people who are finally jumping in to pursuing sobriety. What do you want to say to them?
You're worth it. Give yourself a chance. Sobriety is worth it. I will never turn back. I can't say never. I just take it one day at a time. And I just know that this is a better way of life. And I love my life now. And I'm so grateful every day for the opportunity to live this life on life terms. And that opportunity was awarded to me through sobriety.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for being an example. You are living hope, a living miracle. And I just thank you for, letting your resources, you share that in education and you really help people. So thank you and congratulations. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much, Joy, for having me. I really appreciate you and your platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And before we go, please share where, people can find you and contact you.
Sure. You can find me at FemaleSoberCompanion.com. I'm also on Instagram at FemaleSoberCompanion. And if you want to find things to do in sobriety, sober people, sober places, and sober things to do, you can go to Instagram at SBRBFF. Thank you.
There you have it. Thank you so much.